Sigmas ever felt so confident it scared people off? But what happens when that confidence, the core of your power, crosses a line? There's a razor-thin edge between being impressively confident and coming off like an arrogant lone wolf no one wants around. Welcome to today's deep dive. When Sigma male confidence turns into arrogance, we'll explore how this shift happens, why it matters, and how to stay rooted in authentic power. Confidence is knowing your worth without the need for approval. It's what draws people to you. But arrogance, that's believing your worth makes others lesser. It's subtle, but dangerous. Studies in social psychology show that excessive self-regard often leads to poor decision-making, damaged relationships, and even social isolation. So where does the slip begin? It often starts when solitude turns into superiority. Sigma males thrive in independence, but when they begin to see others as distractions or inferiors, that's when the ego takes the wheel. Instead of quietly leading by example, they start making silence feel like judgment and detachment feel like disdain. Why does this matter? Because arrogance repels what confidence attracts. Opportunities dry up. People stop listening. You stop growing. The strength of the Sigma isn't in being above others, it's in mastering the self. So stay grounded. Confidence whispers, arrogance shouts. One builds empires, the other stands alone in ruins. Remember, the world doesn't need another arrogant man, it needs the quiet storm, a Sigma who knows his power and uses it wisely. Let's get into it. Point 1, the confidence-arrogance spectrum. Let's clear the air right away, Sigmas. Confidence is quiet, arrogance is loud. Confidence walks in and doesn't need to say a word. Arrogance kicks the door open just to hear its own name echo back. Let's break this down. Confidence is built on a solid foundation of self-awareness and earned experience. Studies in psychology, including those by Dr. Albert Bandura, show that true confidence stems from a person's belief in their own competence based on real accomplishments, not wishful thinking. Sigma males operate from this zone. You know your strengths, your limits, and your worth. You've done the inner work, so you don't feel the need to prove anything. Now, arrogance, that's a fragile mask. It's loud because it's scared of silence. It demands attention because it's afraid of being ignored. It's what happens when ego overrides humility. And here's the kicker. While confidence draws people in, arrogance pushes them away. Confident people uplift a room. Arrogant people dominate it. Sigma males don't thrive on applause. They thrive on purpose. You didn't walk this lone wolf path just to impress people. You did it to live on your own terms. That's freedom. That's power. So the next time you walk into a room, don't chase attention. Let your presence speak for itself. People respect the man who doesn't need to shout. They gravitate toward the one who simply. In a world that's addicted to noise, your silence is your superpower. Let it echo louder than arrogance ever could. Point 2, isolation versus superiority complex. Sigmas enjoy solitude. That's our sanctuary. It's where we recalibrate, reflect, and recharge. But here's the truth bomb. Solitude, when left unchecked, can turn into a trap. The danger, when alone time mutates into a superiority complex. You've probably heard the voice creep in, I'm better off alone because I'm better than everyone else. That's not confidence, that's arrogance in disguise. Let's break it down. Psychologically, solitude has immense benefits. It boosts creativity, enhances emotional regulation, and improves productivity. Studies show that people who intentionally spend time alone are often more self-aware and goal-driven. That's Sigma energy right there. But the line between healthy independence and toxic disconnection is razor thin. Confidence says, I walk alone by choice. That's strength, clarity, and purpose. Arrogance whispers, no one else deserves to walk beside me. That's pride camouflaged as independence. One empowers, the other isolates. Here's the truth, just because you don't fit in doesn't mean others are beneath you. You're different, not superior. Thinking otherwise creates a mental echo chamber where no new perspective gets in and no personal growth comes out. Solitude is meant to be your battery charger, not your ivory tower. Being unreachable doesn't mean being untouchable. Real Sigmas know how to value connection while maintaining their independence. We don't need the crowd, but we respect it. We can walk alone without looking down on those walking in groups. So use your solitude wisely, reflect, strategize, build. But don't let it convince you you're above everyone. That's not strength. That's self-sabotage wearing a mask. Stay sharp, stay grounded, stay Sigma. Point 3, when boundaries become barriers. Sigmas are masters of setting boundaries, real boundaries, not the fake kind that people talk about but never enforce. A Sigma male understands the value of his time, energy, and emotional space, and he defends them like sacred ground. Saying no isn't rude to him, it's necessary. He knows his worth and doesn't owe anyone access to his life just because they want it. That's strength. That's clarity. But here's where it gets tricky. Boundaries, when taken too far, can become walls. Not the kind that protect, but the kind that imprison. You start cutting people off, not because they've violated your peace, but because letting them in would mean showing your human side, your fears, your hopes, your flaws. Vulnerability starts to feel like a risk you can't afford. So you retreat, isolate, and call it self-respect. But there's a fine line. According to psychological studies, healthy boundaries are linked with self-esteem, emotional intelligence, and better relationships. On the other hand, emotional walls often stem from trauma, fear of rejection, or unresolved pride. Confidence says, "This is what I need to be at peace." Arrogance says, "No one deserves access to me." So ask yourself, are you setting boundaries out of clarity or fear? Are you guarding peace or guarding ego? Being a Sigma isn't about being unreachable, it's about being intentional. It's knowing when to say no and when to say, "I'll let you in, but on my terms." That's power, that's growth. True strength isn't about avoiding connection. It's about choosing it wisely. And if you're just using your independence to hide behind pride, then maybe it's time to reassess what you're really protecting. Because being strong doesn't mean being alone. It means knowing when to open the gate and when to keep it shut. Point 4. Silent confidence versus silent condescension. Sigmas are not loudmouths. That's not our lane. We don't shout to be heard, and we don't perform just to prove a point. Our silence is part of our strength. But here's the twist. Silence is a double-edged sword. Used wisely, it commands respect. Used carelessly, it can send the wrong message. There's a fine line between power and pride. Let's break it down. Psychologists have found that silence can signal confidence. In a world where everyone's scrambling to be noticed, a calm presence stands out. People tend to lean in when a person of few words finally speaks. That's the strength of a true Sigma, measured intentional communication. But silence can also be misread. If your quietness starts to feel cold, distant, or dismissive, it's no longer commanding, it's condescending. And here's the danger zone. When your energy gives off the vibe that others aren't worth your time or words, you're not embodying Sigma energy. You're stepping into arrogance. Being a Sigma isn't about being better than others, it's about being better than your former self. True strength doesn't need to belittle. The goal isn't to be silent to elevate yourself. It's to be silent because you're grounded, focused, and wise enough to know when to speak. So next time you choose silence, ask yourself, am I being still out of power or out of pride? Let your silence feel like peace, not punishment. That's the Sigma way. Point 5, self-reliance versus refusal to accept help. Self-reliance is one of the defining traits of the Sigma male. You don't wait for permission or expect rescue. You roll up your sleeves, face the storm, and build your own ladder to climb out. It's admirable and rare. In fact, studies in psychological resilience show that individuals who rely on internal motivation and initiative are more likely to overcome adversity and lead purpose-driven lives. But like all strengths, self-reliance has a shadow side. When you begin to see asking for help as a weakness or view collaboration as compromise, you've crossed into dangerous territory. That's no longer independence, it's isolation in disguise. Arrogance has a subtle voice. It tells you no one can help me because no one is on my level. It flatters the ego while cutting off access to wisdom, growth, and support. This mindset doesn't make you stronger. It just builds walls around your potential. Remember, even apex predators hunt in packs when needed. The lone wolf is powerful, but the pack survives longer. The idea that accepting help is weakness is a myth rooted in pride. In reality, it takes more courage to admit you need support than to pretend you don't. Psychologist Abraham Maslow, known for Maslow's hierarchy of needs, emphasized that self-actualization includes not just independence, but also meaningful relationships and community. True growth comes from knowing when to walk alone and when to walk together. Collaboration doesn't dilute your strength, it refines it. Real confidence isn't threatened by help, it welcomes it, filters it, and uses it as fuel. So stay self-reliant, but don't let your pride keep you from rising higher with others. The strongest men aren't those who never fall. They're the ones who rise and allow others to lift them when necessary. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Point 6, detachment versus disregard. Emotional detachment is your armor. It shields you from chaos, keeps your mind sharp in conflict, and allows you to observe rather than react. In psychology, this is often referred to as emotional regulation, a skill linked to high emotional intelligence. It's the ability to stay calm when others lose their cool, to analyze rather than absorb. But there's a fine line. Unchecked detachment turns into cold indifference. That's when the armor becomes a wall. Instead of protecting your peace, it blocks connection. Neuroscience shows that humans are wired for empathy. When you shut that off entirely, people sense it. They stop seeing you as balanced and start seeing you as disconnected, even robotic. Confidence, on the other hand, is the sweet spot. It allows you to feel emotion without being consumed by it. Confident people acknowledge feelings, manage them, and express them in a grounded way. Arrogance, however, is a mask. It pretends emotions don't matter at all. That's not strength, that's insecurity wrapped in pride. The difference is subtle but powerful. Not being ruled by emotions means you're in control, but not caring at all, that's just emotional laziness. If your vibe screams too cool to care, you're not impressing anyone. You're radiating ego, not strength. People don't feel safe around someone who doesn't feel. They feel dismissed. So wield your emotional detachment like a tool, not a sword. Be calm, not cold. Be thoughtful, not detached. True power isn't about shutting off emotions. It's about mastering them, using them wisely, and showing others you're strong enough to care, even when it's uncomfortable. Point 7, respect for self versus disrespect for others. There's a quiet power in being confident without being condescending. A Sigma male is often admired not because he shouts the loudest, but because he doesn't need to. He's rooted in self-awareness, purpose, and independence. He can love solitude, chase goals, and stay grounded in his own rhythm without feeling the need to belittle others walking a different path. But here's where many go wrong. They confuse confidence with superiority. The moment you start mocking someone's choices, lifestyle, or values, especially when they differ from your own, you've crossed into arrogance. It's subtle at first, the smirk when someone says they want a 9-to-5 job, or the eye roll when they talk about marriage and routine. But these micro-judgments reveal insecurity, not strength. True confidence doesn't need to compete. Sigma males don't chase clout or dominance. We walk alone because our fulfillment doesn't depend on approval or comparison. We're not out here trying to win against anyone. We're simply mastering ourselves. Science backs this up. Studies in emotional intelligence show that individuals with high self-respect tend to exhibit humility and empathy. They understand that their worth isn't determined by how others live. Respecting different perspectives is a sign of emotional maturity and a marker of real leadership. So if you're truly confident, let it show in how you carry yourself, not in how you tear others down. Keep your peace. Let others walk their road. There's no need to announce that you're different. You are. Let it speak for itself. Remember, self-respect should never come at the cost of respect for others. Confidence lifts you. Arrogance lowers the whole room. Point 8, stoicism versus emotional shutdown. Sigmas have emotional control. That's part of our mystique. But let's be clear. Emotional control is not emotional suppression. There's a big difference. Suppressing your emotions doesn't make you strong. It makes you a ticking time bomb. True confidence means processing your pain, not pretending it doesn't exist. Arrogance says, I don't care. Confidence says, I care, but I'm not going to let it break me. Emotional intelligence, a key trait of Sigma males, is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage both your own emotions and those of others. Research from Harvard Medical School shows that individuals with high emotional intelligence tend to be more successful in leadership, relationships, and mental health. Why? Because they process what they feel instead of ignoring it. Sigmas don't wear their hearts on their sleeves, and that's okay. But don't confuse stoicism with emotional numbness. You're human. You feel pain, disappointment, joy, heartbreak, and hope. Denying that doesn't make you untouchable. It makes you disconnected from your own humanity. Arrogance tries to erase the soft, vulnerable parts of you, but those parts, they're essential for growth. Strength isn't about pretending you're invincible. It's about knowing when to retreat, reflect, and rise. You don't have to show the world your tears, but you must show them to yourself. Reflect in silence, heal in solitude, grow in wisdom, feel, reflect, grow. That's what a Sigma does, not because we're weak, but because we're wise. Point 9, authenticity versus self-image management. Sigma confidence is rooted in being raw and real. It's not about flashy displays or trying to impress anyone. It's about being authentic, grounded, and unapologetically yourself. True Sigma males don't chase approval or curate their every move to fit an image. They walk their own path, even if it looks strange to others. But the moment you start crafting your persona just to maintain the mysterious lone wolf vibe, you've traded confidence for performance. That's not self-assurance, it's brand management. Confidence isn't about being untouchable or aloof. It's about being so secure in who you are that you don't need to put on a show. Arrogance, on the other hand, is obsessed with image. It thrives on validation, power plays, and ego. Confidence is quiet. It doesn't seek attention. It commands it through presence and integrity. Science backs this up too. A study in the found that authentic self-expression leads to higher self-esteem and better relationships. So don't fall for your own hype, Sigmas. The moment you start pretending to be real, you've already lost the plot. Stay weird, stay grounded, stay real. That's where your true power lies. Point 10, leadership versus control freak behavior. Sigma males are naturally followed because their confidence speaks volumes without needing to shout. True confidence isn't about asserting dominance or micromanaging others. It's about showing up with integrity, leading by example, and being comfortable in who you are. People are drawn to their quiet strength, gravitating toward their authentic presence. On the other hand, arrogance tries to manipulate and control. It demands obedience and seeks validation by putting others down. Arrogance is rooted in insecurity. It's a way to mask feelings of inadequacy by exerting power over others. Being in charge isn't about controlling people, but about inspiring them. A true leader doesn't create pressure. They lead through presence, showing others what's possible. When confidence shines, people follow naturally, not because they're told to, but because they respect and admire the example set. Leading with authenticity and clarity allows you to make a genuine impact. So Sigmas, here's the truth. The world needs your confidence, your quiet strength, your independence, your laser focus. But when that strength starts turning into stone, when the quiet becomes contempt, when boundaries become walls, you lose the very thing that made you powerful. Confidence uplifts. Arrogance isolates. The most Sigma thing you can do, stay rooted, stay aware, stay human. Sigmas, if you felt this message in your soul, hit that like button and smash that subscribe so you don't miss any more fire like this. Join the community where we elevate, reflect, and grow in true Sigma power. Apply these qualities in your life not to dominate, but to live with depth, purpose, and quiet strength. Stay true and stay Sigma.